In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I would like to begin this morning by offering you 3 pieces of startling information that you may never have heard of before. So buckle in. The sun rose in the east, and this afternoon it will settle in the west. Secondly, at some point this day, dog will bite man. And the third bit of startling information, which is probably new to many of you, comes by way of this, I assume it's a local newspaper. If not, there will be many of you who will hasten to correct me. Called The Desert Sun. I don't subscribe to it, so one gave me it. And the feature in their weekly publication, in the section called Neighbors, you have neighbors. And the front, the lead, the headlines, and the big piece on the front is record high STIs. Sexually transmitted infections. See, once upon a time we called it sexually transmitted diseases. But disease has kind of an ominous feeling, so we don't want to say that. Heaven forbid. So in pure George Orwellian fashion, we change it to infections, like the flu, a cold, something like that. We have to soften it in order to not offend the sensitivities of people today. Heaven forbid anyone should be offended about calling something what it is. And this is shocking, isn't it? Record high. Well, that's exactly on the order of the sun in the east and the west, the dog biting man, and this. How can we really be shocked about this? How can we be shocked about it? This has been decades in the making, folks. This is the culture. This is the culture we have created, by the way. And every time you create Frankenstein has a way of grabbing you by the throat and killing you. Watch the movie. The monster always kills its creator. And this is the culture in which we live. We live in a pansexual culture in which sexuality, sexual intercourse, sex is not something sacred. It's not a divine gift. Essential to the dignity of the human person, by the way. It's not an afterthought. It's not a PS. It's essential to the dignity and sacredness of the human person, made right from the beginning by Almighty God in the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis. And yet today it has become a source of entertainment. Turn on your television if you dare. Watch those quote-unquote sitcoms or those other things. It's a wash with sex as entertainment. It's trivial. It's just something you have to do for entertainment. It's also incredibly commercialized. It's hard to look at a commercial in which there is not explicit or by innuendo some allusion to the idea of sexy, and sexuality. Therefore, if you buy the car and the guy is sitting in the car, he's usually surrounded by several babes, all beautiful looking, and they're all just looking at him with goo eyes and everything else. And the hidden persuader is if you buy the car, look at the benefit with friends that you're going to have. This is just an amazing thing. Now, it has escaped me what is sexy about 3,000 pounds of steel and a bunch of rubber around the base. But it seems to be. And if you drink the right beer and you put on the right perfume and you get the right cosmetics on you, you're the cat's meow. So sex is the hidden persuader, the hook in the modern apple that tells you, if you buy the product, you get the benefit. In other words, sex is a commercial thing that you can buy, put on, and obtain if you can get the product. There is no mention of Almighty God. There is no mention of the sacredness and the spirituality of the nuptial act between husband and wife, man and woman, by the way, within a committed covenant relationship that is faithful, enduring, and is open to the gift of children. No mention of that at all. Sex is also commercialized in exploitation. We now have a new addiction. It is the addiction of pornography, which is more addictive than heroin and cocaine, by the way. Yes. More addictive than heroin and cocaine. Because pornography gets into your brain. It actually physiologically alters the very structure of your brain. And it's addictive psychologically and in your mind because it plants ideas there, and the only way to fight an idea is with another idea. It's an exploitation. It is a dehumanization of the human person and the gift of Almighty God. And sexuality has been given over to technique. There's all kinds of advertisements and books and videos and all of these kinds of things so that you can go on to the great pleasure hunt of sexuality. And how do you get that? Well, you get that by manipulating your body or the body of the other person. In other words, your body is nothing more than an object. That's what it is. You like being objectified? Get those videos. You'll be as objectified as you can get. And I don't know of too many people in their right mind who believe that it's good to be simply an object. An object of manipulation, of control, of desire. So therefore, the problem is that there's spillage with that. And what is the spillage? The spillage is we begin to look at other people simply in terms of how can I manipulate them in order to get the pleasure that I want. And when you have satisfied me, or when there's no longer any pleasure involved, move on to the next model. Move on to the next product. It's like when you want to get rid of your used car. Just get a new one. That's all. And the idea of cohabitation, in other words, living together without marriage, or as we used to say in the long ago, without the benefit of clergy. You simply live together. But we all know that you don't buy the cow if the milk is free. Well, but it's considered today to be great wisdom and prudence to live together, even have a child. Oh, then we'll get around to getting married. How interesting. Sort of like ready, fire, aim. Most of us would think that would be dangerous. It used to be ready, aim, fire. Now it's ready, fire, aim. And what happens to the child in this process? Child, well, they're resilient. They can come back. You know, children get over these things. My Lord. I know alley cats that have better morals than that. And we have decreased over the last decade or so the number of marriages that take place in the United States. Cohabitation, just living together, what have you, has increased. Marriage has decreased. Man and woman, husband, wife, within the bond of marriage, that has decreased. And we say, oh yes, it's those black people and it's those Hispanics. That's where the numbers get all messed up. No, folks, we have to stop congratulating ourselves because it's an illusion. Because the highest rate of cohabitation without marriage is among white folk. And if you like poverty, one of, if not the most key factor in producing poverty is to be living together with somebody, have a child. Those individuals are much more likely to end in poverty, especially women. Not to mention the poor children who have no voice in this kind of arrangement. But it's all kind of, well, it's prudent. It's good judgment. And then we have the notion that if you're going to be sexually active, you know, sort of like an active senior citizen, something like that, you know, rather. But again, it's all words played so that it becomes more palatable to us and more acceptable to us. See, words have power. That's exactly what it is. And so, in the midst of these words, if you're going to be sexually active, if you are going to be sexually active, then you have to practice what's called safe sex. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want safe sex. I want good sex. And good sex is between a husband and a wife, a man and a woman, in marriage, covenant. Working together for permanence and loving fidelity. Oh, that's old-fashioned. That doesn't exist anymore. That's back in the 50s, Maestri. You know, Ozzie and Harriet, Father Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver. Stop drinking the cultural Kool-Aid, please. Because the cultural Kool-Aid tells you that that's not possible anymore. That doesn't exist. That's some museum piece full of cobwebs and dust. That's what it is. And we give the Kool-Aid to our children. Grandchildren, parents, what do you teach your children about the sacredness of marriage? About the importance of human sexuality, of the nuptial act between husband and wife. And waiting until one is married. Waiting in a culture that wants to wait for nothing. That's a sacrilege. Talk about waiting. My God, what am I going to wait for? Well, Oscar Wilde once said, couples who go to Niagara Falls for the honeymoon, the falls are only the second biggest disappointment. What is the honeymoon? It's nothing but a break in the vacation. What it is. You've done everything. You've been living together, you cohabitated, and now we're going on the honeymoon. My Lord, have we really lost our mind? But that's all acceptable, and you can't say anything against that, because if you do, you're harsh, you're judgmental, you're intolerant, you're not with the signs of the times, and the list goes on and on, if you happen to buy into that. But there's nothing worse than being antiquated, out of step, out of tune with the moral wisdom of the time. But do not despair. Don't despair, folks. Because we're not simply telling you about the record highs. There is an accompanying piece that goes with it. From one Dr. Mona, M-O-N-A, and I'm going to mispronounce the name because I don't know how to pronounce it, so that usually follows when you don't know how to pronounce it, you mispronounce it. Hanana, K-H-A-N-N-A. This is her credentials. I'm not making this up, this is the credentials. Dr. Kahana, known as Dr. Mona, MD, is a triple board certified practicing physician and the award-winning journalist and humanitarian who proudly calls the Coachella Valley a year-round home. So, one of yours. And in the face of this, record high STIs, formerly known as STDs, she lists 5 pearls of wisdom in order to reduce this and cut this down. Number 1, if you are not in a relationship that is definitely monogamous, consider using barrier protection, such as condoms, to avoid becoming infected. In other words, the answer to roaming around, or even if you're roaming with one, and you don't really know their sexual history, do you? The thing to do is to get a condom. That way, to avoid becoming infected. She's a doctor, I'm not. But I do know that condoms fail about 20 to 25% of the time. So much for your protection. I have a better protection. I'm not a doctor. It's an oral contraceptive. Oh my God, you're for oral contraception? Oh yes, definitely. You look at the person who wants to have sex with you outside of marriage and you say, no. See, that's an oral contraceptive. Speaking, you say no, and so the answer is no. See, like that, I sound like Archie Bunker now. The answer is no. And it's amazing, it's free, it works, and you don't have to worry about copay or any of that kind of stuff. There's no side effects, none of that kind of stuff. But that's the answer today. Just strap on a condom and have at it. What happened to chastity, purity, and discipline? What an insult to young people. You know what it is? It's a total disgrace and debasement of young people. Because you know what it says? You can't control yourself, but you're nothing but a bunch of raging hormones that are going to act out anyway. So the best we can do is not teach you, not give you an example, not school you. We'll give you a condom. That's the answer. My Lord. What a lesson to teach young people. That's what we do. That's what we do culturally. For those of you that are bored at this point, just hang in there for a few more minutes. And you say, well, I'm too old for this. Well, yes, there may be snow on the roof, but there could still be fire in the furnace. And besides, you have grandchildren. You have children. What are you teaching? What are you instructing when they're watching all of these things on television? It's just normal things, that's all. But hang in there. If you are sexually active, see, I was with that, I had that term. Get tested periodically for STIs. You may not develop symptoms from some of them immediately, and early diagnosis means early treatment. Plus, you can avoid spreading the infection to others. Now there's a note of responsibility. Isn't that magnificent? You can do that, but just make sure you get tested periodically. So if you do, you either tell your partner or you refrain. Or you can always get a condom, I guess. It's amazing. Amazing. Number 3, if you are too embarrassed, sorry for the laughing. If you are too embarrassed to visit your primary care doctor for an STI screening, you can always go to the health department or a different clinic. In other words, you're too embarrassed to get the screening, but you're not too embarrassed to engage in the activity. That tells you all you need to know, folks. Oh, I can't go to, my doctor may know that I have this. So it's sort of like a person who goes to another city to go to confession. I'm afraid the priest will recognize my voice. What will he think? He'll think you're a sinner like everybody else and save the mileage and the gas and get in the box and let's go. That could be helpful. But, we don't want to worry about those niceties. Fourthly, sexual health is a part of your physical health. How about your moral health? How about your spiritual health? No. Cannot bring that up because I would be forcing my values upon you, and I certainly wouldn't want to do that. Don't be reluctant to start a discussion with your doctor about what you can do to maintain it. What, sexual activity or sexual health? I'm not sure. But you can maintain it. Don't be afraid to have that discussion. Never mind with your clergyman, your spiritual advisor, your parents, your pastor. Never mind, oh no, can't do that. Go to that doctor. Go to the doctor that you're embarrassed to see, by the way. So you're going to have to get a doctor in a foreign place who doesn't know you. Wear a disguise. They're cheap. And lastly, know that anything that reduces your inhibitions or increases your risk tolerance, such as alcohol and drugs, increases the opportunity to contract an STI. So therefore, lay off the booze and the drugs, so that at least you'll have a clear mind when you engage in this behavior. That's the wisdom. It's the wisdom of the culture. That's the answer. Not chastity, not purity, not self-discipline and strength, not thanks to Almighty God for the gift of sexuality. The beautiful marital sacrament between husband and wife, which symbolizes the love between Christ and the church. That. But again, now I'm going to close on this. Adults, y'all want to do what y'all want to do. Let's face it. And you're going to do what you want to do, and you're going to teach what you want to teach, and you're going to give the example you want to give. Adults make their bed, lay in it, figuratively and as well as physically. I'm worried about the children. I'm worried about children. What are we teaching? And we're very effective teachers, more effective than often in the classroom. What's being taught in the home? What's being taught in the culture? We pretend to be concerned about children. Really? That's one of the greatest jokes of all time, concerned about children. Really? We wouldn't let this garbage go on. We were concerned about children. We would teach day and night, convenient and inconvenient, especially through example of loving parents in the home, grandparents who take time to teach. Popular, no. Essential, yes. And so, I think often that these kinds of topics and these kinds of things are not discussed from the pulpit as they should be. As they should be. And it's not the Catholic hang up on sex. It's the importance of spiritual health, spiritual well-being, having to do with your soul, and that of the young people who are coming up. So Jesus, in our gospel, takes a child, puts his arms around him, says, if you receive a child, you receive me. How is our culture and how are we welcoming children today? How are we welcoming? Are we really? Or is it just the wisdom of get your condom and have at it, and you're being responsible? You're having safe sex. Isn't there something greater than that there? It's no small question. It's a question that demands our attention, our thought, and our prayers. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Please stand.